Dr. Alina Reyes braced herself as the escape pod hurtled through the exoplanet's atmosphere. Warning lights flashed across the console, and the acrid smell of burning circuits filled the cramped space. The research vessel she'd commanded, the Prometheus, had suffered a catastrophic system failure during their orbital survey of Kepler 442b, forcing her to abandon ship while the rest of the crew escaped in the main shuttle. Mayday, Mayday, this is Dr. Alina Reyes of Earth Science Vessel Prometheus, requesting immediate assistance. She called into the communications array, knowing the signal would take years to reach Earth. Her heart pounded against her ribs as the pod shuddered violently. The landing was brutal. Metal screeched against stone as the pod skidded across the alien terrain before coming to a jarring halt. Alina's head snapped forward, then back against the headrest, leaving her momentarily dazed. When her vision cleared, she stared through the cracked viewport at a landscape both familiar and utterly foreign, purple-tinged vegetation under a pale blue sky with twin moons visible even in daylight. At least the atmosphere readings are accurate, she muttered, checking her instruments. Breathable air, tolerable gravity, no immediate toxins detected, small mercies. Alina gathered her emergency survival pack and pushed open the pod's hatch, wincing at the pain in her shoulder. The humid air carried scents of something like cinnamon and copper. She'd just begun to catalog the surrounding flora when a sensation, like fingertips brushing against her consciousness, made her freeze. Curious, unexpected, alive. The thoughts weren't her own. Alina spun around, her hand instinctively reaching for the pulse pistol at her hip. That's when she saw him. Standing at the edge of a crystalline formation was a being unlike anything humanity had ever documented. Tall and lithe, with skin that shifted between deep blue and violet like the surface of an oil slick. His eyes, four of them, arranged in a diamond pattern, gleamed with an intelligence that made Alina's scientific mind race. No mouth was visible, yet she could feel his thoughts pressing against her own. No threat, no harm, curious. What are you? Alina whispered, her pistol half raised. The being tilted his head, and another wave of foreign thoughts washed over her. I am Tavik, you are not of this world. The directness of the mental communication made Alina gasp. How are you doing this? How are you in my head? All life here connects, mind to mind, you project loudly though untrained. Alina lowered her weapon slowly. Years of xenobiological theory hadn't prepared her for actual first contact, let alone telepathic communication. I'm Dr. Alina Reyes from Earth, my ship. There was an accident. Tavik moved closer, his movements fluid and graceful. He extended a six-fingered hand, each digit ending in what appeared to be sensitive pads rather than nails or claws. May I? Alina hesitated before cautiously reaching out. When their fingers touched, images flooded her mind. A vast underground city of crystal and light, beings like Tavik moving through chambers filled with technology beyond her comprehension. The history of a civilization that had evolved in harmony with their world rather than dominating it. The intensity of the connection overwhelmed her, and Alina stumbled backward, breaking contact. That's too much, she gasped. Tavik's skin rippled with patterns that somehow conveyed apology. Forgot how sensitive new minds are, will adjust. You've met others like me before, Alina asked, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her fear. No, but others have arrived, observed from distance. You are first to land, first to speak. Alina felt a mixture of terror and exhilaration. She was the first human to make contact with an intelligent alien species, and somehow, impossibly, they could communicate. My crew, she said suddenly, they'll be looking for me, I need to establish contact. Your signal device broken, Tavik observed, gesturing to the smoking communication array on her pod. But I can help, our technology, different, better. As the alien reached toward her again, Alina fought her instinct to recoil. Something about Tavik's presence calmed her fear, replacing it with wonder. When their fingers touched this time, the connection was gentler, like slipping into warm water. Come, his thoughts invited, not safe here when night falls, much to learn, much to share. Against all protocols and perhaps her better judgment, Alina nodded and followed Tavik into the alien forest, leaving her crashed pod behind. The crystal spires of the underground city gleamed with bioluminescent light as Tavik led Alina through corridors that seemed to shift and breathe. 7 days had passed since her crash landing, and each moment spent among Tavik's people, the Navari, left her more awestruck than the last. Your civilization developed without combustion technology, Alina asked as they entered what Tavik had explained was a knowledge chamber. Earth scientists always assumed that was a necessary evolutionary step. Not necessary, wasteful. Destructive, Tavik's thoughts flowed into her mind with a gentleness he'd perfected over their days together. We learned to harness planetary energy fields, to grow our technology rather than build it. The chamber walls pulsed with light as Tavik placed his hand against a crystalline interface. Images appeared history, science, art, projected directly into Alina's mind through their telepathic connection. Alina marveled at how quickly she'd adapted to this form of communication. What had initially overwhelmed her now felt natural, intimate in a way that transcended spoken language. When Tavik shared knowledge, she didn't just understand it, she experienced it. "The repair drones you sent to my escape pod," she said, "how long before they complete their work?" Tavik's skin rippled with blues and purples, an emotional response she'd learned to recognize as concern. "3 more cycles, your technology primitive but complex in its own way, interesting solutions to problems we solved differently." Alina laughed softly. "You can just say we're behind, I won't be offended." "Not behind, different path, every species chooses their way." His sensitivity touched her. In their daily mental exchanges, she discovered a depth to Tavik that fascinated her. His culture valued emotional intelligence as highly as technological advancement. The Navari didn't separate science and art, logic and emotion, as humans so often did. "Would you like to learn more about Earth?" Alina offered. The question had become a daily ritual, their mutual curiosity fueling hours of cultural exchange. "Yes, Cher." She closed her eyes and focused on memories of Earth, the Grand Canyon at sunset, the bustling streets of Tokyo, the Atlantic Ocean during a storm. Tavik absorbed these images, his consciousness gently exploring her memories. The intimacy of the exchange made her cheeks flush. Sharing thoughts was more revealing than anything she'd experienced with another human. "Beautiful, different your oceans, vast your cities, so many separate beings yet disconnected." "We don't have your telepathic abilities," Alina explained. "Communication takes more effort." "Loneliness, I feel this often in your memories." The observation struck a chord. "I've always been focused on my work. Space exploration doesn't leave much room for lasting relationships." Tavik moved closer, his tall form graceful despite its alienness. His 4 eyes studied her with an intensity that made her heart race. "Yet you form deep bonds, I see them in your memories. Family, friends, lovers." The last word sent an unexpected thrill through Alina. Did the Navari have romantic relationships? Did they express affection physically? The scientist in her wanted to ask, but something held her back, a strange shyness she hadn't felt since her academy days. Instead, she asked, "Do the Navari have families, partnerships?" "Yes, we bond, not like humans, but similar essence. Connection, belonging, sharing of mind deeper than casual contact." "And is it only mental, or do you?" Alina stopped, embarrassed by her directness. Tavik's skin flushed with new patterns, iridescent swirls she hadn't seen before. Was that embarrassment, amusement? Both different physiology but similar desires. Connection of mind enhances connection of body. Alina felt heat rising to her face, and Tavik's telepathic touch withdrew slightly, giving her privacy for her reaction. "Have I made you uncomfortable?" "No," she said honestly, "just thinking about how much we have in common despite everything that's different." Tavik extended his hand, an invitation she'd come to recognize. When she placed her palm against his, their minds connected more deeply, and she felt his genuine curiosity about her, his admiration for her courage in coming to his world, and something else, a warmth that transcended species. "Tomorrow I will show you our surface gardens. The flowers bloom at night. Beautiful, would like to share this with you." The invitation carried undertones Alina couldn't mistake, a desire for her company that went beyond scientific exchange. And to her surprise, she found herself eagerly looking forward to it. "I'd like that very much," she said softly, aware that her thoughts were broadcasting her growing affection for him more clearly than words ever could. The night garden was unlike anything Alina had ever seen, flowers that opened under the twin moons, their petals luminous with patterns that shifted and danced. Some responded to movement, others to sound, creating a symphony of light as Alina and Tavik walked among them. "It's like they're communicating," Alina whispered, watching as a cluster of star-shaped blooms pulsed in response to her voice. "They are," Tavik confirmed, "all life here connects. Plants, animals, Navari, all part of planetary consciousness." Alina knelt beside a flower that resembled an earth lily but with translucent petals that glowed azure blue. When she reached toward it, the petals trembled and emitted a soft chiming sound. "It welcomes you," Tavik explained, kneeling beside her. "Recognizes you as friend, not threat." "How can it tell?" "Through me, my acceptance of you extends through our network." The implication warmed Alina's heart. Over the past 2 weeks, she'd grown increasingly aware of her feelings for Tavik, feelings that defied the boundaries of species and confused her rational mind even as they blossomed within her heart. Tonight, something had changed between them. Their mental connection had deepened, becoming less formal, more intimate. When their thoughts touched, she felt his emotions more clearly, curiosity, yes, but also admiration, affection, and a longing that mirrored her own. These past weeks, Alina began hesitantly, learning about your world, your people. It's been the most extraordinary experience of my life. Tavik's skin shimmered with patterns that had become familiar to her, pleasure, happiness. For me as well, you see with new eyes, make me see my world anew. As they wandered deeper into the garden, Tavik guided her to a clearing where crystal formations rose from the ground, creating natural seating around a pool of water so still it perfectly reflected the moons above. Special place, he explained, where Navary come to deepen bonds. Alina sat on one of the smooth crystal formations, feeling it warm beneath her. Tavik settled beside her, close enough that she could feel the subtle energy field that surrounded his body, a gentle buzzing against her skin that had once felt alien but now felt comforting. The repair drones finished work on my pod today, she said, watching his reaction carefully. The patterns on his skin stilled momentarily, surprise, then something darker. Yes, communication array functional, can contact your people now. I should be relieved, Alina said softly, but I'm not sure I'm ready to leave. Tavik's four eyes focused on her, their pupils dilating slightly. What holds you? Scientific curiosity. The question probed deeper than the words themselves. Through their mental connection, Alina felt his real question. Was it only knowledge she sought or something more? Taking a deep breath, Alina reached out and placed her hand on his, initiating deeper contact. This she thought directly to him, letting her emotions flow freely through their connection. What's happening between us? The resulting surge of emotion from Tavik nearly overwhelmed her. Relief, joy, desire. Feelings so intense they manifested as cascading lights across his skin. Feared alone felt this, his thoughts caressed hers. Different worlds, different bodies, but when minds touch. I know, Alina whispered, it doesn't make sense but it feels. Right, he completed her thoughts. Slowly, with a gentleness that made her heart ache, Tavik raised a hand to her face. His touch was warm, slightly electric against her skin. Alina leaned into it, closing her eyes as their mental connection deepened. Through this heightened bond, she felt his desire to be closer, to share more than just thoughts. Human concepts of physicality didn't translate directly to Navary experience, but the essence was the same, the yearning to connect, to belong to each other. Alina opened her eyes and found his gaze fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. Guided by instinct rather than knowledge, she leaned forward until her forehead rested against his, a gesture she somehow knew was deeply intimate among his people. The contact sent waves of pleasure through their shared consciousness. Tavik's skin glowed with patterns she'd never seen before, intricate, beautiful designs that seemed to reach toward her. May I show you? His thoughts asked gently. How Navary express this feeling? Yes, Alina whispered, her heart racing. His hands moved to her shoulders, then slid down her arms with exquisite slowness. Where they touched, her skin tingled with gentle bioelectric energy. At the same time, his consciousness enveloped hers more completely than ever before, creating layers of sensation that transcended the physical. It was like nothing Alina had ever experienced, more intimate than any human embrace, yet utterly alien. They remained physically separate even as their minds intertwined in ways that made her gasp with pleasure. Under the light of alien moons, surrounded by luminous flowers, Alina surrendered to this new form of intimacy, one that joined mind and body in ways humanity had never imagined. And in that surrender, she found a connection deeper than she had ever known was possible. The holographic display in Alina's repaired escape pod flickered with static before stabilizing into the stern face of Admiral Kenzo, head of the Earth Space Exploration Division. Dr. Reyes, your survival is remarkable, the Admiral said, his relief evident despite the poor connection. The Prometheus rescue crew is en route to your coordinates. Estimated arrival, 72 hours. Alina's stomach tightened. 72 hours, 3 days until she would be expected to leave this world, to leave Tavik. Admiral, I've made first contact with an advanced civilization, she said, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. The Navary are peaceful, telepathic beings with technology centuries beyond ours. I'm conducting vital research that could benefit humanity immensely. All the more reason to extract you safely and debrief properly, Kenzo replied. Your discovery changes everything, Dr. Reyes. You'll be hailed as the most important explorer in human history. The connection ended before Alina could argue further. She leaned back in the pod's chair, closing her eyes against the tears that threatened to fall. Fame, recognition, historical significance, none of it mattered compared to what she'd found here, what she'd found with him. The past month with Tavik had transformed her. Their telepathic bond had deepened daily, creating an intimacy beyond anything possible between two humans. Their physical relationship had evolved as well, discovering ways their different biologies could bring each other pleasure through touch and mental connection. She'd learned to read the patterns on his skin like poetry, to understand the subtle differences in his telepathic touch that conveyed humor, desire, tenderness. And he'd learned her, all of her, from the rhythm of her quickened heartbeat when he was near to the cadence of her thoughts when she dreamed. You are troubled. Tavik's mental voice reached her before he appeared at the pod's entrance, his tall form silhouetted against the alien landscape. They're coming for me, Alina said simply, knowing he could feel the complex emotions behind those words. Tavik moved closer, kneeling beside her chair. The patterns on his skin shifted rapidly, anxiety, fear, determination. You will return to your world. It wasn't a question, but Alina answered anyway. I'm expected to, my duty, my career, everything I've worked for. What of us? The question came with a wave of emotion so powerful it made her gasp. What of this? He took her hands in his, and their minds connected more deeply. Alina felt the full weight of his feeling for her, love, though the Navari had a different word for it, a concept that encompassed not just affection but spiritual and mental unity. I don't want to leave you, she whispered, her voice breaking, but I don't see how I can stay. There is something you must know. Tavik's mental tone became grave about our connection. What is it? When minds bond as deeply as ours, changes occur. Permanent neural pathways form, physical changes in brain chemistry, if separated by great distance. Alina tensed. What happens? Pain for both, physical and mental deterioration. Among Navari bonded pairs who separate often die. The revelation hit Elena like a physical blow. Are you saying that if I leave we'll both suffer physically? Yes, bond is deep now, too deep to sever without harm. Why didn't you tell me this before? Alina pulled away, standing up as anger flashed through her. You knew this could happen. Tavik's skin darkened with patterns of distress. Did not know human physiology would respond same as Navari. Did not expect our bond to form so quickly, so strongly. And what? Alina demanded. Did not wish to influence your choice with fear. Wanted you to choose freely. His honesty disarmed her anger. Alina sank back into the chair, overwhelmed by the implications. So I'm trapped here by biology. No, not trapped. Tavik's mental touch became gentle, soothing. Bond can be dampened, painful process, but possible. You can return to your world if you truly wish it. The offer humbled her. Even knowing it would cause him pain, he was willing to release her. Before she could respond, alarms blared from the pod's console. External sensors showed rapidly deteriorating atmospheric conditions, a massive storm approaching, unlike anything recorded since her landing. We need to get to the underground city, Alina said urgently, grabbing her emergency pack. They had barely exited the pod when the sky darkened ominously. Violent winds whipped around them as they ran toward the nearest cave entrance that would lead to the Navari settlement. A massive lightning bolt struck nearby, splitting a crystal formation. Razor-sharp shards exploded outward. Alina felt Tavik's mental cry of alarm, then his body shoving her aside as crystal fragments rained down. One large shard struck Tavik's shoulder, embedding deeply. His pain flooded their mental connection, making Alina cry out as if she'd been wounded herself. Tavik, she screamed, rushing to where he had fallen. His skin fluctuated between patterns of pain and concern for her safety. Go cave entrance ahead, storm worsening. I'm not leaving you, Alina said firmly, tearing strips from her uniform to staunch the blue fluid seeping from his wound. As she worked, their mental connection flared with unexpected intensity. In the crisis, their bond had strengthened further, allowing Alina to feel not just his current pain but deeper memories. His first awareness of his attraction to her, his fears that she could never truly accept his alien nature, his growing love despite those fears. And he, in turn, felt everything she had been hiding from herself, that she had already chosen him over her return to Earth, that the thought of separation had become unendurable, that what she felt for him transcended simple human concepts of love. I'm staying, Alina whispered, her tears falling onto his shimmering skin as she finished bandaging his wound. Whatever happens, I'm staying with you. I've made my choice. Through their bond, she felt his overwhelming joy mingled with concern. Are you certain your world, your people? You are my world now, Alina said, helping him to his feet as the storm raged around them. And we need to get to safety so I can tell you that properly. Admiral Kenzo's holographic image flickered with interference, his expression a mixture of disbelief and concern. Dr. Reyes, I want to be certain I understand you correctly, he said, leaning forward. You're refusing extraction. Alina stood tall before the transmission equipment, Tavik beside her. His presence gave her strength, his mind gently touching hers in silent support. I'm not refusing extraction, Admiral. I'm proposing an alternative, Alina replied. I wish to remain as Earth's first ambassador to the Navari, establishing formal diplomatic relations between our worlds. This is highly irregular, the protocols for first contact. With all due respect, sir, we're beyond protocols. I've lived among the Navari for 2 months. I've learned their language, their customs, their technology. No one else is better qualified. Kenzo's frown deepened. And this has nothing to do with your relationship with the alien standing beside you, the one you've mentioned in your reports. Alina felt Tavik's mental touch, a reminder that he could sense her emotions even if he couldn't understand the English words. She took a deep breath. My relationship with Tavik gives me unique insight into Navari culture. Our telepathic bond allows communication beyond what any translator could achieve. She paused, then added firmly, yes, we have a personal relationship. That doesn't diminish my scientific objectivity, it enhances my understanding. A long silence followed. Finally, Kenzo sighed. The rescue vessel will still arrive tomorrow. They'll bring diplomatic credentials and communication equipment. If you're determined to stay, we'll formalize your ambassador status. His expression softened slightly. This is unprecedented territory, Dr. Reyes. I hope you know what you're doing. I do, sir, thank you. After the transmission ended, Alina turned to Tavik, who had waited patiently throughout the exchange. He agrees, Tavik asked, his skin shimmering with hopeful patterns. Yes, Alina smiled, taking his hands. I'm staying officially. His joy radiated through their mental connection, warm and bright as sunshine. Alina leaned into him, resting her head against his chest, where she could hear the rhythm of his three-chambered heart. That evening, they stood together on the balcony of the dwelling they now shared in the Crystal City. The storm season had passed, leaving the landscape renewed. Far below, the night garden bloomed in celebration, as if nature itself approved of their union. Tomorrow your people arrive, Tavik observed, his arm around her waist. Are you certain you won't regret your choice when you see them? Alina shook her head. I've found something here I never had on Earth, not just with you, but with your entire way of life. The Navari understand connection in ways humans are only beginning to imagine. She turned in his embrace to face him, her hands tracing the luminous patterns on his skin, patterns that had become as familiar to her as her own reflection. Besides, she added with a smile, I'm not giving up Earth, I'm bringing our worlds together. Tavik's 4 eyes studied her with tender intensity. In the 2 months since her crash landing, they had discovered countless ways to bridge the gap between their different biologies. Their mental bond enhanced every physical sensation, creating intimacy beyond anything Alina had experienced with another human. The council has approved our formal bonding ceremony, Tavik told her, his mental voice tinged with nervous excitement. If you wish it. Alina's heart soared. The Navari bonding ceremony was their equivalent of marriage, but deeper, a ritual that would formally recognize and strengthen the neural pathways already connecting them. Yes, she whispered, I wish it more than anything. Their minds joined more fully, sharing joy, desire, and plans for the future. Through their connection, Alina showed him images of how she imagined their life together, representing Earth while making this alien world her home, perhaps one day finding ways for others like them to forge connections across the stars. Tavik responded with his own vision, teaching Alina the deeper mysteries of Navari consciousness, exploring the uncharted regions of the planet together, standing as equals before both their peoples. As night deepened around them, their mental and physical intimacy blended into a perfect harmony that transcended their differences. What had once seemed impossible, love between species from different worlds, now felt like the most natural thing in the universe. Later, as they lay together in the bioluminescent glow of their sleeping chamber, Alina traced her fingers along the curves of Tavik's face. Their earlier lovemaking had left his skin pulsing with patterns of contentment and satisfaction, patterns she had learned to create and enjoy. When I crashed on this planet, she murmured, I thought I had lost everything, my ship, my mission, maybe even my way home. I never imagined I'd find something greater than anything I was looking for. Tavik's mind touched hers with tender affection. Sometimes we must lose our way to find our destination. The Navari saying resonated through their bond, carrying layers of meaning that would have been impossible to translate into mere words. Alina smiled, understanding completely. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, explaining their relationship to her crewmates, beginning her formal role as ambassador, navigating the complexities of bringing two vastly different civilizations into contact. But tonight, wrapped in the warmth of their shared consciousness and the promise of a future together, Alina knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. Beyond the stars, she had found not just knowledge or adventure, but a love that defied the boundaries of worlds. Rest now, Tavik's thoughts whispered as he sensed her drifting towards sleep. Tomorrow, our new life begins. It already has, Alina murmured, letting herself fall into dreams that, thanks to their bond, would be shared between them. The first of countless nights together under alien skies.